Hello guys, I hope wherever you're watching us from you are having a great time. This is AfriPost and welcome to today's video. Now, Africa remains a very important continent in the world because of the fact that it is blessed with a lot of natural resources, minerals that are very precious and are needed everywhere. Military technology in the world has depended a lot on Africa for its development because some of the precious minerals used in the creation of new technologies are mined in Africa. However, as nations continue to lure African countries to give them their precious mineral resources, there is this silent war between United States, China, and Russia about Africa. We remember the 1800s when Africa was the subject of colonization. The Western nations, especially the European countries, took advantage, redrew the borders of the continent, and created countries that they could easily manage and take their resources. Right now, the United States has identified Russia and China as its major threats in Africa. But in the midst of this fight, the question is, where is the black person left? Where is the African left? I want us to watch this compilation of videos where United States top military men are giving critical intelligence about China's role in Africa and why there is need for United States to redraw its strategic encounter with African countries to have their interests well preserved. Let's watch, then react to it at the end.
Could you walk us through what you think China is doing in Africa? How does it threaten us, and what are we doing to address it?
They compete with us in Africa. First of all, China has made a decision, a deliberate decision to compete with America in Africa and win that competition. They compete primarily through economic means and diplomatic means. And you can see that there with their Belt and Road Initiative. They are investing everywhere across the continent. We don't actually have to meet that competition in every location head on. We have to pick and choose where we're going to do that. And there are countries where it's important that we do.
Tell us what China is doing. How far along are they on their base in Djibouti? And where do you think they might likely be making their strongest effort for a military base in West Africa?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. China's aspirations, especially at Dorley, they're coming across a thinly veiled front that is all for goodwill. But we know that they're establishing, especially with the destroyer that visited Dorley last March, shows that they have indications that...
Tell us where that is.
Dorley is in Djibouti.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So ranking member, their aspirations are pretty clear. That's a strategic line of communication, especially as it embarks upon the Suez Canal and the Bab Mandeb, if they wanted to fully militarize that. Dorley is of concern. They're saying it's all about goodwill, but I think the other. They do have other aspirations, and in closed session, ranking member, I know that I can be able to lay that out. Where in West Africa is their next military base aspiration?
Okay, but tell us then, if you can, I think you can, how that would affect our security as Americans, and particularly in North America, if the Chinese are able to establish a base in West Africa.
It would change the whole calculus of the geostrategic global campaign plans of protecting the homeland. It would shorten if they build any capacity on the West Coast geostrategically, it will put them at an advantage. Right now, we have the decisive advantage. They cannot, we can't let them have a base on the West Coast because it would change the dynamics.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Houthi attacks in the Red Sea directly impact the lives of millions of Africans. Terrorism, poverty, food insecurity, climate change, and mass migration shatter African lives. These factors sow the seeds of violent extremism and Russian exploitation across entire regions of the continent. AFRICOM's campaign revolves around central themes of ensuring strategic access, countering threats to the homeland and U.S. interests, preparing for and responding to crisis, and lastly, bolstering our allies and partners. This campaign places our African partners at the center, achieving positive change by executing African-led and U.S.-enabled operations focused on our shared objectives. In today's dynamic environment, our whole of government partners require appropriate resourcing. I strongly advocate for our State Department and USAID partners to receive the resources they need to guarantee our combined success. I would also like to highlight a campaign that benefits from our Congress, which supports the African Center of Strategic Studies, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary. In Africa, modest investments and resources go a long way towards achieving our national security interests. Africa faces many challenges, but also offers even more opportunities. With our African partners at the forefront, reinforced by our efforts and the efforts of our allies, we will continue to gain ground towards achieving lasting stability, security, and prosperity on this crucial continent. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here today, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Chair Langley, can you talk about why we care about what's happening in Africa right now? I mean, if you tell the American taxpayer, why are we there? Why are we spending the money we're spending there?
Thanks for that question, Senator. For access and influence, I'd say that a number of countries are at the tipping point of actually being captured by the Russian Federation, as they are spreading some of their false narratives across Libya. And from a strategic answer piece, access and influence across the whole Maghreb, that is NATO's southern flank. We need to be able to maintain access and influence across the Maghreb from Morocco all the way to Libya. The PRC and Russia are also remaining exploitative where possible and coercive when necessary. They want that ground. They want power projection capabilities. So for the most part, the rest of the continent is also for mining concessions, whether it be gold or rare earth minerals. Both of them have a long-range plan. But I think at the accelerated pace, the Russian Federation is really trying to take over Central Africa as well as the Sahel.
The question arises, what are we doing in terms of information campaign to try to inform governments and the people of the dangers that these groups, not just Wagner groups, but other entities are posing?
Chairman, thanks for that question, because I would say the Russian Federation's narrative drowned out the U.S. governments in the past years. They were accelerant. The Russian Federation, not just through Wagner, stoked a lot of the instability across the Sahel. They did this through misinformation, disinformation campaigns. So I see how we could double down in our efforts is through our own information campaign, but matched with our assurance efforts across the whole of government, just not building military and security capacity, but all the story needs to be told about the successes of USAID and State Department collectively in all of our operations, activities, and investments.
And that requires additional resources, I presume.
Yes, Chairman, it certainly does, especially in information operations.
With respect to where we don't have ambassadors, I really appreciated both of you talking about a whole of government approach that you're doing in your areas of responsibility, because as you point out, there isn't a military solution in these countries. And I wanted to show this map. You can see by the pins where we do not have ambassadors in Africa and also in Turkmenistan. So we have 8 open missions in Africa. The African Union in Zimbabwe, Nigeria, the biggest, most populous country in Africa, Cabo Verde, Djibouti, where, as Senator Wicker pointed out, the Chinese have a base, Liberia, Somalia, Burundi, and Burkina Faso also do not have an ambassador in Turkmenistan, in CENTCOM. So how important is it for us to have ambassadors in the countries where you're operating to help us move the missions that we have in these countries. I'd ask both of you to respond to that.
Senator, it's very essential that we have, especially with our whole of government approach. Our African partners understand that we're here to help them reach their overall national goals of stability and security. But when we bring our assurance actions and our African campaign plan and say 3D, they said, okay, then why aren't we important enough to have an ambassador? And so it does draw a strategic communication that can be exploited and leveraged by the Russian Federation and the People's Republic of China. It is certainly essential.
Thank you. And I would point out that the PRC has ambassadors in all of those countries.
Now, from the clips, I think it fulfills the saying that goes, there is no free lunch. Because if you look at the manner in which the United States has been using Africa, it does not use it to serve any of Africa's interest. Look at the kind of answers that those military men are giving. They are saying that they are concerned with what United States is getting out of Africa. That is their minerals. And if any partner comes to Africa and wants to also mine these minerals, then that is a threat to their interests. So they have openly exposed this, and they're even telling us that they have funded some coups in Africa. They have funded some coup leaders in expectation that they will get some favoritism from Africa. So at the time when some of our African countrymen are jumping up and down and celebrating, saying that they have deposed a dictator and they are having a new leader through a coup, this could not be to the interest of the Africans themselves, but it is to the interest of the United States. Look at what is going on in the Sahel region. Many coups have happened. Up to now, I think the only leader who has tried to really show Africans that he is up to task is Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, because he has looked at Burkina Faso and said that all the minerals that are there will be used to develop that country, and none will be sold outside at throwaway prices. France has been obtaining them before. We have also seen that Senegal, which got a new vibrant leader the other day, has also issued stern warning to France and said that they don't want France's interference in Senegal. They want to have a country that is run by Senegalese and no external interference by any means. But I think these are some of the speeches that some of our leaders, African leaders for that matter, tend to give every time they get new opportunities. But if you look at the deeper operational issues that they handle, if you look at how they lead, they do not live up to the spirit of Africanness that they were calling for during the time when they got sworn in. I've looked at how United States and other European countries are interfering with elections in Africa. And that is why I always concur with Dr. PLO Lumumba, who always says that Africa does not need the democracy that is imported from the West, because this democracy is a tool that is being used to micromanage African countries. They come and give you a leadership system that does not solve societal challenges that you have as a continent. He has said evidently that democracy that is fed to us from the West should not be a one-size-fits-all solution to African leadership issues. We as a people did not believe in democracy as a mode of leadership. We have lived as communities that have kings, that have kingdoms, that are run peacefully without any interference. If you listen to the revelations there, you'd really understand that United States has also employed the use of multilateral organizations like IMF and World Bank to do their bidding in Africa, so that they only lend money to countries that are able to toe line to their demands. If a country has refused to follow their demands, then they are not going to be favorable in terms of giving it resources. And I think here is a point where African countries are truly being exploited. There is no need for them, that is the Western nations, to come to Africa, take up our resources at throwaway prices, instigate conflicts within our communities, then fund rebels, and then come back to us and claim that they want to give us peace negotiations. I think as Africans, we must come together, assess our relationship with these organizations, especially the IMF and the World Bank. We also must come and assess how China, United States, and even Russia and other European countries can engage with us in business and bilateral engagement, because we have realized that many of them have come to Africa and they take advantage of our leadership problems. Look at how our African leaders are very gullible in their hands. They are able to take instructions from them, and no one is willing to really stand up and say that enough is enough and they cannot be controlled by Western nations. I don't know what is your opinion about this topic, but please, if you're watching us for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and also share. Please remember to also give us your comment down in the comment section so that we may also understand your perspective about the topic. Thank you, and may the good Lord bless you. Goodbye.